Racing is back. The major series returned after its summer break last week with the World 100 on the dirt oval of Eldora. We're going to catch up with the winner of the Atlantic region's top split to ask how they got it done and their thoughts on the race. Then we're going to have a chat with El Capitan Mike, who's got an exciting announcement for everyone regarding the future of Majors Garage and its move towards sim racing dominance. But before we get to those, I recently sat down with the newest member of a very exclusive Major Series club. So let's get into it in just a sec. Kicking us off this week, we've got a very special interview with the newest member of Major Series 100 Club, Travis Henderson. Only the 9th driver to reach 100 rounds with the majors. Travis first raced with us in 2016 for a single round, and then ever since has missed only a rare round here or there all the way up till now. A pro driver throughout, Travis has 12 top 5 finishes, possibly more. My analysis might have been a little bit off for the early years because 2016 was well before I arrived on this scene, and countless Ironman awards over the years. So, Travis, congratulations on getting to 100 races. And tell me, were you actually even aware that the World 100 was round 100 for you?
Thank you for that. And no, I wasn't. To be honest, I've really lost track of the amount of races that I've done. I know I've been around for a while, all the way back to when it used to be the Pacific Majors. I don't know how many of your people actually remember being the Pacific Majors, but quite a few of us are still around, although a lot of people are actually gone. But kind of nice that it works out to where the World 100 was my 100th race.
A great little piece of serendipity there. You said you've been racing with us since 2016. I say us, but it's well before I came along. Can you remember what led you to joining the major series way back then?
So way back then, like I said, it was the Pacific Majors at the time, and Trevor actually brought me in. He was part of our, well, at the time, I think it was TeamSpeak. We didn't even have Discord yet. That tells you how long that's been. But he started racing early on. Normally, I'm from California. At the time, I was in the military, so I was on the East Coast. But I got my stuff changed to be in California. So he's like, "Hey, seems how you're California. This is a group that's for the Pacific region." I started watching a couple of his races, and then finally the last race of the season, things worked out, and I was able to get in and have some fun. And I try to make every race. There are a few races that I miss. Unfortunately, there's probably going to be a lot more in the future with the way my work will be. I'm currently in college to become a commercial pilot. So, guys will probably be seeing a lot less of me here within the next year or so, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, we all think that there's a lot of pressure racing in the majors. A bit more pressure when you're flying commercially. So, yeah, good luck with that.
Yeah, just a little bit. The one thing that really kind of got to me, one of my instructors said, you know, as a United States trained pilot, the first time that you're in the cockpit of an aircraft is with passengers behind you. That's not a very comforting feeling when you think about it.
Yeah.
How would you like the captain comes on for your flight and says, "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for flying Delta or United or whatever. Just to let you know, your first officer will be flying today, and this is his first flight." That just doesn't give you the warm fuzzies as a passenger.
I think
Even
you need to make that announcement before they start showing where the exits are.
I probably would be a good idea.
Good luck with that and with the move into that career. So I hope it goes really, really well for you. Back to the majors. What's been the highlight of 2024 for you so far?
I'm always a fan of the Daytona 500. That's been the highlight. I didn't really get a good finish. The team showed very strong running. Not all of us got good finishes out of it, but that is what it is. Our team has always been strong at the restrictor plate tracks, whether it's with a non-restrictor plate car such as the 87 or with any of the cars that we've done. For us, the Daytona race has always been the big race. I know a lot of us were looking forward to the World 100, but unfortunately, with some things that happened with the team and unfortunately getting into the wall early for me, it didn't quite work out as we had hoped.
Racing with the Grizzly team, which is who you're referring to there. Have you been
Yes.
with them the whole way through, or have you been with some other teams as well during your majors career?
So I've stayed with the same team, although the team has it's not always been Grizzly. The team name has changed throughout the years. We had like the Torque Freak Racing guys came in, so there for a little bit it was Grizzly TFR or just various things that have changed over the year, but the team has pretty much stayed the same until recently with some of our guys having to split off and go to the Pacific and leaving for other teams and such.
Did you race in the Majors 24 this year?
I did.
Everybody has a story, so give us yours. What was your experience like? Give us the
It
rundown.
it went really well. We were in the P2. I think we were bottom half of the splits, but we were not by any means down at the bottom. We were in a P2 car. Things were going well until about halfway through the race or so. I had a problem where I was on cold tires and had a GTP just basically decide that I didn't exist and drove straight through me, put us in the fence and took some damage. And then I think it was my outlap after getting the damage fixed. I run in VR. I'm one of the guys that run in VR. And going down the Mulsanne, but my screen went black. Couldn't see anything. I locked the car down, ended up hitting the wall, gave us another like 15 minutes of damage. And at that point, we were just like, nope, I'm done. We're over. We were so far down that it really wasn't conducive to us finishing that race. Unfortunately, that's how it goes sometimes.
This is the fifth interview I think I've done for this series of podcasts, and that's the third interviewee that I've had who's had some sort of technical issue during one of the majors races this year. So, as I've said before, whenever it happens to you, you think, why me? It's only me, but really it happens to us all pretty regularly.
Well, yeah, and I see it a lot. I have one of the original released DD wheels from Fanatec back when it was actually called the DD1, years ago. So this particular wheel, I have a problem with every so often the wheel buttons will stop working. So I won't be able to shift. I'll still be able to drive, but if I have to hit a tear off or something like that, it has a problem. But
Uh,
it only happens in practice. I've never had it in a race until this year's majors. And it's just like I don't know what it is, but for some reason those 24-hour races not only are a test of mechanical equipment, but computer equipment as well, it seems.
Yeah, it's somehow, yeah, Fanatec in particular seems to have inbuilt mechanical failures or reliability stresses into into their equipment for
It
endurance racing on the sim.
it very much does feel that way.
Other poor sim racing equipment brands are available. So, do you consider yourself more of an oval guy or a road guy? What's your go-to style of racing in the iRacing service?
So our group of guys that ended up coming over here were actually we had our own league that we ran that was strictly NASCAR, mainly oval, right? But NASCAR does go to Watkins Glen, Sonoma, that sort of thing. So we did do some of that road course, but most of us are oval guys. However, we've been around majors long enough, most of us, that we have really turned into road racing guys. My heart is still with the ovals. Still generally do better with the ovals. So just as results go, I would say most of us are better oval guys than we are road racing guys. However, I kind of find enjoyment in both. But for most of us, yeah, we are definitely oval guys.
Certainly, one of the great things that Major Series encourages is going outside your comfort zone. The dirt round that we've just done, I never do anything on dirt outside of the majors. So yeah, it's cool to push yourself into different places, and yeah, it's all about the practice to learn those additional skills, right?
It's very interesting. I am the same way. I do not touch dirt unless it's in the majors. But I have a couple of guys that's what they love to do. So results kind of can get inflated for us just because we have a couple guys I can go to and be like, this is my problem. How do I fix it? And so it's really easy to get better results when we have people that actually are available to provide that. And it is really nice to cover up some flaws of your driver.
Outside of sim racing, what sort of racing do you enjoy watching or attending?
Unfortunately, I don't get to attend much racing. We have a couple small local tracks here, one of which is actually on iRacing. I think it's now Kevin Harvick's Kern Raceway Park is on iRacing, and that's a local track. We also have another dirt track that every time you see a thing that says, "What should we put tracks on?" I do that, but it's a dirt track, so we know how that goes. As far as watching racing, most of my stuff that I enjoy watching is sports cars and F1. Used to be pretty big into NASCAR, but that's kind of gone away now, and pretty much watch any sports car racing and the F1 races when they're on now.
It is amazing for anyone that's outside the US listening to this. I go to the US quite a lot for family reasons, and that's been the case for 20 years. The change in F1's presence in the US is unbelievable. It's gone from no one would have ever heard of it almost to basically any big city that you go to in any shopping mall, there'll be either a dedicated F1 store or certainly a store that's carrying F1 gear almost without exception. It's quite remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, where I live, I would not say I live in a well, I guess for a lot of people outside of the US, I live in a relatively large town. We have, I think at last check, about 400,000 people in my town. When it comes to the US, that is not a large city. But even around here, our local mall, you can go to the sports stores and you'll see Verstappen shirts, right? Or you'll see a Red Bull shirt or a Ferrari shirt. I remember when I was a kid that you'd never find any F1 gear around. You are right. It has become a large sports venue now that was not a thing back when I was a kid.
Have you ever actually competed in any real racing yourself?
No, unfortunately, when I was young, my dad tried to get me into drag racing, but my mother said no, and that pretty much put an end to my chances at racing.
Might not have been a bad decision, Mum. Having seen some of the stuff that I've seen from drag racing in the last year or two, yeah, it's pretty hairy.
Yeah, I agree. Now that I'm older, it's almost to the point where I'm almost too old to start getting, other than going to my local short track and having fun there. I'm starting to get old enough. I'm only in my mid 30s, but you're starting to get to that point where you're starting to lose some of that quick, snappy reactions that you would need to actually go racing if you're doing it for anything other than fun.
Yeah. Well, regarding drag racing, whilst I might have sounded disparaging about it before, of all of my experiences in motorsport, and I'm in my 40s, the one thing that stands out as the most exhilarating experience that I ever had in motorsport was standing between two Top Fuel dragsters when they took off. I cannot explain that to anyone unless you experienced it. You wouldn't understand it. It changes your world. So if you have anyone that's got any interest in motorsport, if you ever get a chance to do that, even if you have no interest in drag racing, just do it. You won't regret it.
The other thing, experience wise, not necessarily on four wheels, but I've watched and been to a lot of motocross slash supercross races. I used to go to the world finals in Las Vegas every year when I was younger. And being able to stand down on the line when they all launch out of the gate is another experience. Not quite as cool as being between two top fuel cars, but that is a whole nother experience when you're just standing right next to that when they go off too.
Bring it back to the major series. Been with us for so many years. What's been the best thing about it for you across the almost 9 years you've been doing it with us now?
I think that the best thing is that we continue to see good races, right? It's a league, and we know that there are various different skill levels, but for the most part, we have good races, and it allows us to learn new vehicles, right? We're not consistently running ovals like we did in my previous league. We're running all sorts of different cars with all sorts of different tracks, and that's really why I keep coming back is just the amount of exposure to the various things on iRacing that we have through this league.
On that note, Travis, thank you for your participation and your dedication to the series. Congratulations on the 100 rounds and all the best for the flying career as well. And yeah, good luck for the rest of the season. And thanks very much for having a chat with us on the Inside the Majors.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, and thank you for having me. And here's to hoping that we can go for 100 more.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Somebody, anybody, really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
With me today is Sam Lawson, who took out top split for the World 100 for the Atlantic region in only his second ever race with the Major Series. It was a perfect event, really, with pole, winning the heat, and leading 93 of the 100 laps in the main, and actually never falling below second. So, Sam, firstly, congratulations on the win. Tell us how the event went from your perspective.
Thank you for congratulating me there. And it was mind blowing, to be honest with you, because I mean, everybody sees the Major Series as like one of the top leagues and everything you can do. And started out during the week with practice races, won a couple of those, and I knew Cody Buck was going to be fast on the long runs during the race. And I mean, qualified on pole, led 93 laps. Is just mind blowing, honestly. Got to thank Tom Friedis for helping me out with the setup there.
You mentioned Cody, who also had a pretty amazing race. He qualified second, won his heat, and actually never fell below fourth in the race as well. So yeah, he really was with you all the way. And there's some bogan Australian finished third. He's not worth talking about. Have you had a lot of dirt experience in iRacing? Did you come with a fair bit of confidence and experience under your belt?
Honestly, no. I do racing in pretty much everything on iRacing, which I mean, I've only been on iRacing for a little over a year now. So I'm not good in anything, but I'm not bad in everything, if that makes sense. I kind of just run everything, I guess.
Do you feel more an oval person or more a road person? And obviously, dirt gets thrown in there as well. But yeah, do you feel more oval racing's your thing or on the track?
Oval racing for sure. I mean, I do a lot of NASCAR leagues and stuff like that. So I'd say that's where I'm more comfortable. That's why I'm excited for the race. I think it's next week, Richmond.
Yeah, it might be a couple of weeks away. Rock and Roll 400, another race with a lot of door banging in the same way that this was. Back to the World 100. Were there any hairy moments during the race? Perhaps when Ericsson came by pushing quite hard fairly early on. Obviously, burned up his tyres a bit, it looked like. But yeah, anything happened during the race that gave you some concern?
Only thing that really scared me was, I think it was like right around lap 70s. It was like 72, 73, somewhere in there. I got into the wall in 3 and 4, and I was just glad Cody does a lot of dirt racing because he checked up for me and we kind of brought it off that. Other than that, I wasn't really worried. I just set my pace. I just ran what I knew that I could get the tires to the end, and that's what I tried my best to do.
There was quite a lot of concern in the week leading up to the race that were the tyres going to last the full 100 lap distance. Did you do a lot of practice and setup work to try and have the longevity in your tyres to be able to make 100 laps?
Setup style, no, not really. But like just me personally, I had to tell myself not to go full throttle till the end of the race. Because I mean, if you go full throttle the whole time, you're not making it past lap 50, really. So I never really went full throttle to the end of the race. I knew if I'd done that, I could make it to the end.
This is only your second race with the Major Series. So what brought you to the series?
So he actually raced in the race, Tom Friedis. He's the one that got me into it. We didn't know it was really a series, to be honest with you. We just done the Indy 500 this year. I made top split in that somehow. And then this race, he's like, hey, there's a dirt race. I was like, I like running dirt. It's fun to do. I was like, let's try it. And then I'm glad I did.
Outside of iRacing, have you got any real world racing experience?
I know it's weird because everybody seems like they've done like some sort of racing in real life. I just come from liking watching NASCAR on TV and going to dirt races around here in Tennessee. Now I just love doing iRacing.
Obviously, a NASCAR follower. Is there any other sorts of motorsport, real world, that you enjoy following or that you manage to attend?
I just do like World of Outlaws and Lucas Oil, dirt cars and sprint cars. That's about it, really.
You said you've only been doing iRacing for around a year. Like, are you brand new to the world of sim racing, or have you been doing other sorts of sims or games in the past?
So I've done other games. I wouldn't call them sims because I mean the NASCAR Heat Series stuff like that. That's just a video game. Nothing that compares to this. But that's what I come from. So I had a buddy. His name is Sam Baumgartner, and he was like, "Just try racing." I was like, "Okay, I'll go buy a computer and let's just go from there." And I fell in love with it ever since.
So you mentioned your friend Sam Baumgartner running his independents at the moment. Any plans to maybe try and form a team in the majors with the two of you and some other people that you know? Or
I mean, I'd love to. So I run other leagues also, but we have a team. It's called Five Kings Motorsports, and we got some backing with some sponsorships also. But I'm going to try to get all those guys over here in the major series too, and see what we can do with it.
good that you got to number 5, because 4 Kings would have been potentially problematic. Will we see you then for the rest of the year in other events?
Oh, 100%. And most definitely because I just found out it's a series, so 100%.
So, if joining us for the rest of the year, what about things like Formula Fords and Formula One cars? How do you go with those?
I will definitely run the races. I will put all the practice I can to be the best I can at those races. But at the end of the day, I'm just going to try to run the series, learn all the cars that we run, and hopefully next year run for the championship. Because obviously, I know now I'm too far out of the points. But all I can do is really practice for next year, really.
You said you're in some other leagues. What sort of leagues do you run in?
So I run in Blazing Pedals. It's a NASCAR league. It's a very good group of guys. I don't even compete with those guys every week. And then tonight I run Front Row Esports League, and that's where the Five Kings team's really based out of.
Have you ever had one of those experiences where you find yourself on track with a real world big name driver?
Depends how big name, not really, but like Parker Klingerman from the NASCAR. I've been in a race with him once. I think that's about it.
It is one of the cool experiences of iRacing when you do suddenly find yourself on track. Those of us that run road, it's always a great thrill if you find yourself on track, especially with Max Verstappen or Shane Van Gisbergen or somebody like that. At any point, if you think you're getting good, whether it's at a particular track or a particular series, and then suddenly you end up on track with one of them, suddenly you realise, no, you're really just so far off.
It's miles behind.
It's amazing. It really is amazing running with some of those guys. It's one of the great things about iRacing or sim racing in general. You can do something that's a pretty good approximation of the real life thing with the real life people. Certainly can't do that in many of the other sports or any other sports that I can think of. Great to have you on board with the series now, Sam, and looking forward to seeing how things evolve for you for the rest of this season and pushing into next season, perhaps with a championship challenge. But congrats on the win. Enjoy that until next round. Good luck with your other leagues, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you, buddy.
At the beginning of the podcast, I alluded to Majors having a new initiative tied to the Majors Garage, but part of the Majors umbrella as a whole. I've got Mike, our fearless leader, with us. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how we doing?
Big announcement on the Discord, coming on the websites as well. Majors Esports, Mike. Please tell us, what is this? Because it's come, well, for me, out of nowhere, and cool looking logo. But tell me what this means. What is Majors Esports?
Right. Well, Majors Esports is honestly just a natural evolution of what we do, especially on the garage side. Although, I really consider it part of all of us, whether that's the series, the garage, and now the team or the esports team, however you want to call it. But, with the garage, we have over 20 professional builders building for over 70 cars on the iRacing service, including, of course, all of the major players on the esports scene, whether that's NASCAR, IMSA, IndyCar, Dirt, everything you can think of in that front, Porsche Cup, et cetera, et cetera. And we build those every week and have for years. And with not only with the foundation of the crew chiefs that we have, but with over 25,000 people using the service weekly, it just felt like a natural thing to expand into the esports world. It's something that I've wanted to do, frankly, for a long time. And I didn't know how to do it, though. I mean, I didn't really want to sponsor a team, although that would have been a perfectly legitimate avenue, and I didn't want to just build a team of elites. I really wanted this to be sort of a ground up thing where it's not going to be for everyone. There'll be a home for a lot of people here. Again, we'll cover the bases in all of the esports series, all of the special events, several prominent leagues. So there will be a home for a lot of people in this, and there will be a lot of development opportunity. And that's really what, that's our setup service has always been catered to sort of the average, the everyday, the weekend warrior iRacer, the person who's 1,500 to 3,000 iRating. We've really taken pride in having a service that is affordable and really is catered to them. And so the esports team, while in the long run our goal is going to be to win championships and to be competitive and to really be a force in that world, it'll start out as a great place to develop people, and I think we have the resources to do it. So that was my motivation behind it primarily.
Looking at the announcement, terms like training programs, coaching sessions, collaborations. This isn't just a, hey, I've started this team, everybody come and join, and we'll all give each other a group hug and then go race. This really is an opportunity for people to come and develop themselves and improve themselves, right?
Absolutely, 100%. So we will have, for each series that we support during the time of year that we support it, and some will be year long, like the NASCAR series I intend will be a 52-week-a-year deal. For others, it'll be seasonal. While we are in season for whatever series we're talking about, we'll run a couple, at least, practice sessions every week where everyone on the team will be required to join most of those sessions, and they'll be joined by our crew chiefs, by our setup builders. Those will be kicked off with the setups that we built for the series that week, and the opportunity to develop their racecraft, to be coached by those crew chiefs, and to enhance the setups to their personal liking and their skill set in those practice sessions. And again, so we'll run 2-3 hours of dedicated team practice every single week. And again, it's not just out there running hot laps, but it'll be focused time on racecraft and building setups for the individual drivers on the team, making them better. Hopefully, that's the goal.
Now, you've said they're members on the team. Is this something that you're looking for people to be part of the Majors Esports exclusively, or potentially something in addition to teams they might already be part of?
Exclusively. So if they're on a team and they would like to be in the esports team, they're probably going to have to give up the team that they're on. So that's why I would say we're going to start more with a broader base of talent to develop that talent. We may get a few folks that have really high iRating that would like to join the team, and I'd love to entertain those ideas, but I'm also happy to develop them. And the reason for that, and it's a good question that you ask, is obviously we are committing a ton of resources, whether it's from the coaching perspective or from a setup perspective, and there's a lot of value in that. To be completely honest, to just give that to somebody who's on another team and is going to utilize that information and those setups and all of that to better their other team is not something I'm necessarily interested in.
You've said about the weekly sessions, obviously there'd be weekly races or probably weekly or regular racing, but what sort of people should apply? For instance, I myself have a family, get on, race, do my best, can't necessarily commit to things, so it's probably not for me. But what's the sort of criteria that people should be considering before they put in an application? Because it is an application process. Should have said that up front. But
so
for
sure.
What sort of people? What criteria should people be considering?
Yeah. Well, so having time is a big one. And there are going to be people that have time that don't have the right time if that makes sense. So once we start to narrow a pool of applicants, a big part of that is going to be ascertaining when during the week are you available for practice sessions, and we're going to try to create as much overlap as possible. Also needed them to be available when our coaches and crew chiefs are available, at least most of the time. So that's going to be super important, is that they have time to dedicate to this, number one. Number two, they have a passion for it. They really are eager to be the best they can be. Not every one of them is going to be a world champion, but I think every single one of them can improve greatly and can be successful. So having a passion for it, number two. And number three, they need to, I don't want anybody who wants to just be a driver. So I need people who are at least willing to entertain the idea of learning how to tweak a setup, how to make it better for them, because we have an entire population of customers who are going to benefit from that knowledge in addition to the esports team. So I need people who are willing to turn wrenches virtually, make the cars that we give them even better, tailored to them specifically. So yeah, those are the key components. Have some ability, have a passion for it, have time, and be willing to get under the hood.
So, yes, as you said, not everybody will be a world champion, but potentially people that have finished third in Division 6 of the fixed setup oval racing series back in the day, should they be applying?
They can, if they meet the other criteria, absolutely. Division 6 winners are my favorite.
Well, that's great, because that's my only oval certificate that I've ever got. So there you go. Okay, so applications are open. majorsgarage.com/esports, or one word, _application. I'll put that in the notes for this podcast as well.
Yep.
But obviously, it's opened up. When should people apply, and how long are you going to have this application process open for?
Yep. So they should apply right away if they're interested. The application process will never close. Now, from a initial team perspective, I will start evaluating in earnest the applications in a week to 10 days from now. We've gotten several dozen applicants already, which is great. Obviously, not all of them will be chosen for various reasons, but I would expect we're going to have 100, 150, 200. I don't really know where it's going to end, but within the first 30 days of applications open, I expect we'll have a lot of applicants. And like I said, they'll never close. The team will never be set or finished. And again, we're not going to be a typical esports organization. So there's bigger ones and smaller ones, obviously, but this won't be anywhere near, this will be on the way bigger side ultimately in terms of total population. And that's just because we have the resources to do it. And we do intend to tackle, every serious series out there from an esports perspective. So by definition and by nature, the team's going to be pretty big. And so, yeah, applications will never end. I'm sure we'll have turnover from time to time. We'll pick somebody who ultimately overestimated how much time they have available, or they lose interest, or whatever the case may be, and we'll have turnover, and we'll bring in new people, and we'll evaluate new people. So no, the applications will be open from here on forward.
The application process never closes. People that don't get straight onto the program the first time that they apply, will there be a reserve list or a way that other people might initially not get on the program but still be asked at a later date to come back?
Yeah, of course. So no is not no forever. The reasons people don't make the team will be various once they realize whether it's the time requirement or the specific times that we are practicing and preparing. Those just may not fit their life at this moment. Maybe it will in the future. So no is not no forever. Once we have an applicant, we'll have them in our database. And should we have openings and we think that maybe they were a good fit, we can always reach back out to them. And people are always welcome to, squeaky wheels do in fact get grease, I have found. So people are always welcome to check back in and wonder if we have got new openings. Maybe they've improved beyond what they were before and they're still very interested. Who knows? There's a million scenarios that couldn't possibly cover them all. But no, once we tell somebody no, it doesn't have to be no forever.
People looking for more information, where should they come to if they have any questions or would like clarification on anything, either as part of the application process or prior to applying?
Well, the Discord is always good. You can email me directly at mike@majorsgarage.com. We will have a dedicated area within the Majors Garage Discord for the esports teams. But prior to being on the team, using that from a communication perspective is always good. You can use the feedback form on the website as well if you want to go that route. So lots of ways to contact us should you have questions.
And finally, a personal or a self-indulgent question. Every member of the Majors esports team will be required to run in the MEC, correct?
Well, we will field, definitely not. And I know that was a bit tongue-in-cheek, but we will 100% have an IMSA esports team, so an esport group within our team. So that team undoubtedly will field one or two MEC teams, I have no doubt, just like we'll field maybe multiple Majors 24 teams from that group. The NASCAR team we won't require, but there will be leagues and big events for all of these groups, and we'll tackle them individually and as appropriate. So no, there will be representation for sure.
Yeah, great. As much as I like seeing dirt oval specialists try and deal with sports car endurance racing, it makes me feel better when I try and tackle dirt oval racing as a sports car endurance person. Anyway, so thanks for giving us the rundown on that, Mike. For anyone who has forgotten already, majorsgarage.com/esports application if you're looking to apply. The Majors Garage Discord has the announcement, and I'm sure it's going to be on the Majors Garage website if it's not already. So, yes, thanks for giving us the rundown on what's going on there with the Majors esports side of things, Mike.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited to see where the esports team goes. I've been, like I said, this is something I've wanted to do for a long time and just kind of looked for the right opportunity to do it. And don't know if now is the right or best time, but we're doing it anyway.
Thanks very much for that, Mike. And that's it for the podcast for today. Keep an eye out on the Discord for more information on Inside the Majors. Please send any questions that you've got either about anything that we've said today or potentially things that you'd like discussed in the podcast, and we'll catch you in the next episode.